If you found this video, pause and breathe for a moment, because this is not an accident. Something deeper has brought you here. Maybe it's a version of yourself that already knows you're ready, ready to stop hoping, ready to stop chasing, ready to start becoming. What you're about to discover is not a complex technique or a secret formula buried in ancient books. It's two words, just two, but when understood correctly, they have the power to change everything, and yet they are almost always overlooked. Neville Goddard taught something profound, that the foundation of your reality lies in what you assume to be true about yourself. And the way you access this assumption, the way you shift your entire state of being, is through the words you quietly say to yourself. Not to the world, not to your friends, but to yourself. In silence, in stillness, in faith. And that's why these two words aren't meant to be shouted, shared, or proven. They are meant to be honored, protected, and lived. You see, most people move through life using these words unconsciously. They say, I am, and attach limitation to it. I am not enough. I am unlucky. I am trying. And they wonder why nothing changes. But Neville revealed the truth long ago. These two words, I am, are not just a statement. They are a command. They declare your identity. They define your inner state. And your inner state is what life reflects back to you. When you say, I am, you're not describing your experience. You are setting the foundation of your reality. Every word that follows becomes part of your assumption. Every thought that repeats itself becomes part of your self-concept. And what you consistently affirm internally, especially with emotion, will begin to harden into fact. Not because of magic, but because that's how consciousness operates. That's how identity works. That's how manifestation begins. Neville was clear. We do not manifest what we want. We manifest who we are. And who you are is defined not by your circumstances, but by what you silently accept as true in your inner world. That's why these two words, I am, are the most powerful spiritual tools you'll ever carry, but they're also delicate. When used carelessly, they reinforce the very reality you're trying to leave behind. When used intentionally, they unlock a version of you who no longer waits, because they already are. This is why Neville advised silence, not secrecy, out of fear, but protection out of wisdom. When you begin living from a new I am, especially one that contradicts your current reality, it's vulnerable, it's forming. It needs time to grow without interference. And the moment you share it with people who don't understand, people who still live by what they see and not what they feel, you risk weakening the state you're building. You don't need permission to shift. You don't need validation to believe. You only need one thing, the courage to say, I am, and attach to it a truth that feels like home to your future self. I am confident. I am loved. I am already receiving. These aren't fantasies. They are declarations. And when repeated with calm, quiet certainty, they begin to rewire your entire emotional landscape. The beauty of this, you don't have to shout it. You don't have to explain it. You don't even have to believe it fully at first. You only have to persist. You only have to return to it, especially in moments when your old identity tries to pull you back. That's when the shift truly begins. Not in the peak moments, but in the quiet ones, when you choose the new version of you over and over again. That's the work. That's the practice. That's the power of I am. So today, try this. Don't tell anyone what you're manifesting. Don't post about it. Don't explain it, just become it. Say it to yourself, softly, confidently, and consistently. Let the words I am guide your emotional posture, your decisions, your self-image. And as Neville taught, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not someday, but now. You're not here to be convinced. You're here to remember that everything you desire is already within reach. Not because you're lucky, but because you've always had the ability to shift into it from within. Two words. That's all it takes. I am. And when you say them, mean them. Not with force, but with quiet authority, not to prove anything, but to claim everything. And above all, say them to yourself. Keep them sacred, because the moment you start living from them, the world will catch up. Before we talk about the two words that hold the power to shift your reality, we need to go deeper into the foundation behind why they even matter. This is not about just saying something for the sake of feeling better. It's about understanding how your mind, your inner speech, and your assumptions are the architects of everything you experience. Neville Goddard made one thing abundantly clear throughout all his teachings. Consciousness is the only reality, not what you see outside, not what your senses tell you, but the inner world you consistently entertain, the thoughts you repeat, the states you inhabit, the silent conversations you carry on in your mind day and night. That inner realm is the source of your outer world. He didn't say this as theory. He said it as law. Consciousness is not reacting to your life. It's projecting it. Life doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. And the blueprint of what shows up is determined not by effort or hustle, but by the assumptions you've accepted as truth and the images you persistently hold in your imagination. This is why Neville placed so much importance on the imagination, because imagination is not fantasy, it's creation. It's the workshop of the mind where everything begins. Whatever you can imagine and feel is real. You give permission to exist in the world of form. And you don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to convince others. You only need to persist within yourself, in quiet belief, until the outer world reflects what you've already accepted internally. Imagination and assumption go hand in hand. You can't create without first assuming. And you can't assume without first using your imagination to construct the experience. That's why Neville taught to live in the end, to mentally occupy the state of the fulfilled desire, because that state, once assumed as true, will attract every necessary condition, opportunity, and bridge of event to bring it into your life. Not because of magic, but because that's how consciousness expresses itself. And it's not a matter of doing this once. It's a matter of doing it until it becomes natural, until the feeling of being that person is more familiar to you than the feeling of waiting. That's where your power lives, in what you feel to be true about yourself, not just once, but consistently. Now, here's where it gets even more personal. Neville emphasized a specific channel through which all creation flows, and that is your inner speech. The words you silently repeat, whether you're aware of them or not, are forming your reality. Every "I can't," "I don't have," "it's hard" is an instruction to the subconscious. And every "I am," "I have," "it's done" is just as powerful, if not more, when spoken with conviction and feeling. What you whisper to yourself becomes your world. Neville didn't say this casually. He understood that the mind is always speaking, always rehearsing, always shaping the self-concept. And most people, without knowing it, are rehearsing lack, limitation, and delay. They want change, but their inner speech keeps them stuck. They affirm desires, but mentally talk themselves out of them the moment they walk away from the mirror. Your true manifestation practice is not what you do for 5 minutes in meditation. It's what you say to yourself all day long, the story you repeat, the identity you wear in silence, the phrases you hold close. That's what creates your life. So it's not about speaking louder. It's about becoming more deliberate with what you allow inside your inner world. Neville taught that inner conversation is not just mental chatter. It is a creative act. Every time you engage in self-talk, you are reinforcing an assumption. And assumptions, when persisted in, harden into fact. If you keep internally saying, "Nothing ever works for me," then your life will comply. Not because life is against you, but because you've taken that statement and wrapped your emotional energy around it. You've made it real by assuming it's true. But when you begin to shift that speech, quietly, consistently, something miraculous happens. Your inner atmosphere changes. Your feelings shift. Your self-image evolves. And the world must follow. This is why those two words we'll come to in a moment are so important, because they are the seed of every inner conversation. I am everything you say after them, even silently, becomes a command to your subconscious. I am tired. I am not ready. I am unlucky. These are not just complaints. They are creative declarations. You are not describing yourself. You are creating yourself. Neville urged us to become masters of our internal dialogue, not to force positive thoughts, but to choose the ones that align with who we want to be, and to do it privately. Not because there's shame in change, but because identity grows best when it's not being examined by doubtful eyes. The mental repetition of empowered inner speech plants seeds in your subconscious, but not all speech is effective. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Do you speak with conviction or hesitation? Do you rehearse your new self or repeat your old one? The subconscious doesn't respond to words alone. It responds to feeling and repetition. So saying, I am confident, once doesn't change anything. But saying it again and again, in the silence of your own mind, until it feels real, that's how new self-concepts take root. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. Only what you emotionally accept as true. That's why imagination is the bridge. That's why repetition is the tool. That's why your inner conversations are everything. They don't just reflect your beliefs, they become them. So now, as we approach the next stage of this message, you'll understand why Neville's method was never about controlling the outer world. It was always about controlling the inner one. Because once you do that, once your inner speech aligns with the reality you desire, the outer must follow. Not through force, not through wishing, but through natural law. You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to prove anything. You only need to decide what you will be and then become it within. And it starts with two simple words, spoken not to the world, but to yourself. Repeated not to impress others, but to impress upon your own subconscious that a new version of you has arrived. And now that you understand the foundation, the words will make sense. The silence will make sense. The results, when they come, will not be a surprise. They will be a reflection of the words you've been whispering to yourself all along. There are two words that shape everything about your experience: your self-image, your world. Two simple words that, once understood, become the doorway to every transformation you seek. These words are not rare. In fact, you use them every single day, but rarely do you use them consciously. And it's that very unconscious use that keeps most people locked in the cycle of becoming without ever arriving. The words are, I am. I am is not just a grammatical phrase. It is the root of identity. It is the core of consciousness. It is the foundation of assumption. Every reality you've ever lived, every limitation, every breakthrough, every repeating pattern has grown out of what you have declared after those two words. Neville Goddard taught that assumption, when persisted in, hardens into fact. But what is assumption, if not the deep belief in I am this? Whether spoken aloud or whispered in thought, your I am is always working. It is always creating. And what you say after I am, that's the seed of everything. I am tired. I am stuck. I am unlucky. These aren't just statements. They are silent commands to the subconscious. They are blueprints, invisible instructions that your outer world faithfully follows. Most people speak I am unconsciously, attaching it to emotion, to fear, to lack. And they wonder why their lives don't shift, even though they visualize and affirm. It's because the root is still infected. The identity is still old. But when you begin to claim I am from a place of conscious awareness, when you stop using those words to echo your past and start using them to declare your end, you step into power. You stop reacting. You begin to embody. I am becomes your creative tool, not to fake something, but to feel something, not to try and convince the world, but to convince your own mind of a new truth, a truth that begins internally and later becomes visible externally. Neville never taught manifestation as begging or striving. He taught it as assumption. An assumption begins with I am. When you say I am loved, and you dwell in that feeling not just once but over and over, you create the condition where love must meet you. When you say I am successful, even if the world around you hasn't caught up, you begin wearing that identity internally, and everything begins to align accordingly. You're no longer trying to attract something. You're becoming someone. This is why these two words must be handled with care. They're not casual. They're not throwaway expressions. They are the seed of your self-concept. Neville would tell his students, do not throw pearls before swine. What he meant was simple. Do not waste sacred truths on the unprepared mind. And I am is sacred. Every time you use it, you are planting a seed. Whether that seed will bloom or decay depends entirely on what follows. To say I am without emotion is like watering soil without planting anything. To say it with doubt is like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to check if it's growing. But to say I am with certainty, with inner silence, with repetition and peace, that is to align with the end, to live from it. And once you live from the end, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange. But there's something even more subtle, more powerful, that Neville emphasized. Don't share it. Not because your desires are shameful, not because your goals should be hidden, but because premature sharing dilutes the power of your assumption. You speak it out to the world, and suddenly the reactions, the doubts, the questions from others begin to invade your inner state. And now the very identity you were trying to protect has to defend itself. It's no longer pure. It's become fragile. When you tell someone about your new self-concept, when you say, I am wealthy, or I am in love, or I am healed, and they look at your current conditions and raise an eyebrow, that subtle response can introduce doubt. That moment of hesitation can pull you back into questioning, and identity cannot thrive in the soil of doubt. It needs space. It needs silence. It needs faith. Neville called it remaining faithful to the end. And you can't do that if you're constantly inviting others to examine what is still growing in your unseen world. This is why true power feels quiet. When you know who you are, you don't need to explain. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to post it online. You become it in silence. You repeat, I am, with unwavering inner focus. Not to impress others, but to impress it upon your own subconscious. The world will catch up. It always does. That's law. Neville said, do not discuss your ambitions or desires. Let them unfold silently in the darkness of your imagination. The darkness he referred to was the unseen realm, the womb of creation, where all things are born before they become visible. Just as a seed grows in the soil, protected from the elements, so too must your new identity be protected from external voices. When you tell no one, you keep your state intact. You don't allow the outer world to interfere with your inner alignment. You become still. You become deep. You return to the place where I am is spoken as truth. Not because the world reflects it yet, but because your spirit knows it already is. And that's the key. Don't share your new I am just to get a reaction. Don't dilute your transformation by needing applause. This journey isn't about performance. It's about persistence. It's about inner loyalty to your chosen identity, even when nothing outside supports it yet. The moment you begin to live from the end, toward it, you no longer need to say much. You walk differently. You think differently. You expect differently. And reality obeys not your wishes, but your state. This is what Neville meant when he said, you must dare to assume you are what you want to be, and continue to assume it until it appears. And the key word there is continue. To continue means to protect. It means not giving voice to your inner world until it has become strong enough to express itself on its own, without explanation. So keep it quiet. Keep it sacred. Let your I am be something you whisper only to yourself. Let it grow roots before you reveal the tree. And when the time is right, your results will speak so loudly that you'll never need to say a word. I am is not a statement of desire. It is a declaration of identity. When you say I want, you confirm the absence of what you seek. When you say I hope, you push your desire into the uncertain future. But when you say I am, you bring it into the now. You make it present, real, live. This is the difference between wishing and assuming. Wishing keeps you outside the experience. Assuming places you in the middle of it. And the way to assume is through your internal declaration, your I am. So instead of saying, I want to be loved, you say, I am already chosen. Instead of I wish I had more money, you say, I am wealthy. Instead of I hope I heal, you say, I am healed. These statements may feel strange at first. They might feel like lies, but persistence transforms them. Emotion anchors them, and repetition makes them real. Neville taught that you must learn to live in the end, to occupy mentally the state of the wish fulfilled, and nothing anchors you in that state more effectively than the conscious use of I am. When you say I am, you are not describing something that is coming. You are identifying with something that is already yours. Your subconscious does not question this. It only responds. But how do you make these statements feel natural? You don't force it. You ease into it. You repeat it gently. You let it become familiar, like a thought you've always had. At first, it may feel mechanical, but with calm, consistent inner repetition, your nervous system begins to accept it. Your mind stops resisting, and the new identity starts to settle in as truth. This is where the silent repetition technique becomes powerful. You don't need to shout your affirmations. You don't need to convince anyone, not even yourself right away. You simply need to repeat quietly, consistently. You say it in your mind, I am confident, I am thriving, I am aligned. Over and over as you walk, as you sit, as you prepare to sleep. Not with effort, but with steadiness, stillness, presence. Neville explained that the best times to impress the subconscious are when the mind is quiet, early morning, late at night, or during moments of relaxed awareness. These are the moments when your inner resistance softens and your assumptions slip into the deeper parts of consciousness. That is when the seed of your I am has the greatest chance to take root. But once spoken internally, once felt emotionally, let it go. Let the words settle into your being like a seed in the soil. Don't rush to repeat them with fear. Don't dig them up with doubt. The moment you plant an I am statement, release it. Let it become your atmosphere, the silent tone of your life. Let it move through you, not as a command, but as a presence. Faith doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. Faith accepts. Faith assumes. Faith rests. And when you truly say, I am, you no longer need to ask for evidence. You become the evidence. The proof is in your posture, your mood, your reactions, your silence. That's how you know the seed is growing, because you no longer wonder when. You simply know it is already. You don't become something by effort alone. You become it by identification. Identity is destiny, and identity is built by repetition. The more you speak to yourself as the person you wish to be, the more natural that role becomes. Your thoughts shift, your actions shift, and eventually your environment adjusts to reflect the new self you've embodied. So instead of trying to attract, start becoming. Instead of looking for signs, become the sign. Don't wait for the world to change. Be the one who changes, and let the world mirror that back to you. It has no choice. Life is not responding to your wishes. It's responding to your assumptions. And assumptions live inside your I am. Try saying this internally, not to change something, but to feel it. I am no longer waiting. I am already living it. Let that statement settle into your chest. Let it breathe inside of you. I am at peace. I am chosen. I am receiving now. These are not words you say to get results. These are words you say to remember who you truly are. You are not lacking. You are not separate from your desire. You are it now in consciousness. And that shift from seeking to being is what accelerates everything. Because when you use I am as your anchor, your mind stops wandering, your emotions calm, your energy centers. You stop scattering your power. You stop leaking it into doubt and contradiction. You become aligned, and alignment is what moves mountains. Not force, not time, not struggle, just clarity. That's why this works faster than most techniques. It bypasses the need to constantly fix, affirm, or analyze. It returns you to the root, identity. Who are you being? Not in theory, but in feeling. Who do you wake up as? Who do you expect to be? That's what the world responds to. Not your goals, but your being. Not your plans, but your posture. So stay silent. Stay certain. There's no need to declare this new identity to the world. You protect the seed by keeping it in the soil of your imagination. Speak it internally. Live it quietly. Let it show itself when it's ready. Your new life doesn't need to be announced. It needs to be worn. The people around you will notice. They'll feel the difference. Not because you told them, but because you've changed your state. You've stopped explaining and started embodying, and embodiment is louder than explanation. You don't owe the world a preview. You owe yourself privacy, the space to evolve without interference. Let the transformation be the proof. Let your results be the voice. Let your new life be the answer. Because once you say I am with belief, and you persist in that state, there is no outside force that can deny it. Your assumption becomes the law, and the law always fulfills itself. You don't need to say it to the world, you need to say it to yourself until it becomes true. The deepest transformations don't come from shouting louder or proving anything to anyone. They come from repetition, silent, sincere, and unwavering. The real change happens within. The most powerful words are not public, they are private. They are felt before they're seen. They are claimed before they are confirmed. That's the essence of Neville Goddard's teaching. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and live from it as though it already is. Your am is not a performance. It's a decision, a posture, a quiet agreement between who you've been and who you now choose to become. And when you persist in it, not for a day, but as a way of being, the world has no choice but to match your inner shift. If you use I am with clarity, conviction, and calm faith, everything around you will begin to shift. It won't be instant because of magic. It will be inevitable because of alignment. Speak the words not to chase anything, but to become someone. Try it today, not out loud, not on social media, but in secret, in silence, in the sacred stillness of your own being. Whisper the truth of who you are again and again until it feels familiar, until it becomes natural, until the world reflects it without you needing to say a word. If this message resonated deeply with you, if you're ready to step into the version of yourself who already is, then like this video, leave a comment sharing your favorite I am affirmation, and subscribe to Ignis Mindset for more timeless wisdom rooted in Neville Goddard's most powerful teachings. You're not here to wait. You're here to become.